All right, speaking of religious freedom, yesterday the Public Relations Department at the NBA's Golden State Warriors put out a statement distancing the team from the co-owner, Chamath Palihapitiya, who has been taking heat for comments he made Saturday on on a podcast proclaiming nobody cares about the Uyghur minority in China that is suffering under the Chinese Communist Party. Play that clip again, please.
Nobody cares about what's happening to the Uyghurs, okay? You bring it up because you really care, and I think that's nice that you care. The rest of us don't care. I'm just telling you a very hard...
Wait, you're saying you personally don't care?
I'm telling you a very hard, ugly truth, okay? Of all the things that I care about, yes, it is below my line. Okay? Of all the things that I care about, it is below my line.
Disappointing.
With me now to talk about this is Nury Turkel. He is the chair of the Uyghur Human Rights Project, who also serves alongside me at the U.S. Commission on International Religious Freedom as the vice chair. Nury, welcome to Washington Watch.
Thank you very much for having me, Tony.
So nobody cares. I see a lot of people that care about what's happening to the Uyghurs.
I know you do care, and that's why you get sanctioned. So this guy's notion that the civilized world does not care about a persecuted religious minority it falls in its face. But also it describes an emblematic problem that we have in the business community, sports world, as well as Hollywood. When it's convenient to criticize our government for that matter, they just ready and available to criticize because there's no cost for them. But when it comes to criticizing communist China for the ongoing genocide against the Uyghur people, they just dance around and try to play this whataboutism card, which is, I think, despicable.
So, Nury, let's talk about this for a moment. What is happening? Just remind our listeners what is happening to the Uyghurs in China.
Since late 2016, the Chinese Communist Party formulated and executed an expanding modern-day genocidal campaign, locking up to 3 million Uyghurs, according to the Pentagon, in industrial-scale concentration camps. Not only that they've been engaging in this kind of massive concentration camp system built, they're also engaging in forced sterilization and enslavement of the Uyghurs to use them in forced labor factories that are feeding the global consumer market. So essentially, the Chinese government has been engaging in this collective, massive punishment of this particular religious group. In addition to that, they are also using forced labor, slave labor, to pollute the global economic system. The most disturbing aspect of what's happening to the Uyghur people involves children. Based on credible reports, close to 800,000 Uyghur children have been taken away from their family members and sent to the state-run orphanages. And also based on the open source information that the Chinese government itself provided, there have been the forced sterilization and deliberate, purposeful prevention of natural growth in the Uyghur population. In 2019, 2020 alone, the population decline in the Uyghur homeland is about 25%. So based on these facts, based on these available information, based on the camp survivor account and witness account, the United States government, Secretary Pompeo declared in last January that those atrocity crimes amounts to genocide and crimes against humanity, which is confirmed by the new administration, the Biden administration. So this is a bipartisan position by the United States government. To this day, over 100 punitive sanctions been announced against individuals and entities that have been responsible for the ongoing genocidal campaign against the Uyghur people.
So, Nury, what's the issue with the NBA? Why are they afraid to take a stand on behalf of the Uyghur people against the Chinese Communist Party?
So it's a commercial interest mostly. Based on what happened to the manager of the Houston Rockets a couple of years ago when he tweeted in support of the Hong Kong democracy activists, China is punished. So the business community caved in, specifically NBA, caved into the Chinese pressure and instructed their business partners, such as this guy who made a big fool of himself over the weekend, to do the bidding for the Chinese government. So it's a gut-checking, soul-searching moment for people in the free societies to ask themselves, do we operate our businesses? Do we go about with our lives based on what Beijing thinks of us or Beijing tells us? This is, in fact, this is a atheist communist regime. So the American business community, particularly the corporate America, the athletic community, and also American academia need to get onto the right side of the history. The history will not be kind to them.
Final question for you, Nury. What can the average American, those across this country that are watching and listening to this, what can they do?
Three things that the average Americans can do. One, lending their voice, just like the way that the condemnation is outpouring on this guy. And support has been enormous to the Uyghur people, especially in the social media in the last few days. The word Uyghur was trending on social media yesterday. That kind of public support is needed. And then two, as a consumers, we have so much in our hands that we can pressure through consumer activism to pressure the businesses to do the right thing. And then third, we should call on our government, the White House, the Congress, to put in additional, enhance the legal tools and put in additional resources. And finally, we need to ask our government if they have a policy. This genocide is in its fifth year. We have not heard from either our government or our traditional allies and partners if they have any willingness to stop the genocide. As a state party to the Genocide Convention, more than 150 countries have a responsibility to call it out, stop it, and punish. So we have only about 7 countries around the world have taken a position yet, which is disturbingly a sad situation.
Nury Turkel, I want to thank you for joining us. You're a courageous man, and I appreciate you greatly. Thanks so much for joining us today.
Thank you very much, Tony.